I'm really looking forward to hitting this. Guys, after 4 months away from YouTube, I'm back with another video on the Kirkland Signature Driver. For those of you that reached out during my family's health crisis, I really appreciate all the well wishes. At the end of this video, I'm going to talk about what the future of the channel holds, so stick around if you want to learn more about what's going on with the future of the Golf Nerd channel. Guys, in my hands is the most controversial product for 2024. This is the Kirkland Signature Driver. It was released last week and it sold out in about 4 hours. Now, if you're wondering why in the world would a supermarket chain have a golf club that would sell out in a few hours, well, you have to remember the history of how we got to this point in time with Kirkland. So, 2016, Kirkland put their toe in the water of the golf market, so to speak, and they released a 4-piece golf ball. And that golf ball actually outperformed the Pro V1 at that time. It became a internet lore. It went on eBay. The prices that these balls were selling for were ridiculous. There was just a huge viral hit associated with that Kirkland product. Fast forward, they released a 3-piece ball. Spun too much, the cover wasn't great. They've had multiple iterations. Now they have a version out after several tries that is better and is closing the gap to premium products. And oh, by the way, it sells for about $1 a ball. I use that ball. I use the Kirkland gloves, another really great product. Then they came out with wedges. The wedges were really solid. They're shaped like a Titleist Vokey wedge. They perform very well. They feel good. They're insanely cheap. You buy a set of 3 wedges for basically the cost of 1 Vokey. You start to see Kirkland having these successes one after another, and it's easy to see why the brand is building some credibility within the golfing community. So first things first, the looks on this driver. I really think they did a nice job with the appearance of this driver. The bottom with the graphics that they've got going on, to me, it looks a lot like a Titleist driver from the bottom. The TRS-2, for instance. Just the way that they've got these angular lines going, it just reminds me of the Titleist aesthetic, and it's very classy. There's no issues with the way that this driver looks until you get to the logo. Now, I've complained about the logo on every one of my videos. I think the logo is hideous. I understand why they stick with it. It's their attempt at branding and getting their name recognition out there. I really don't think they need to worry about that. I'd really just like to see them develop a signature logo for their golf products, something a little bit more minimal. And if you've ever seen the golf gloves, they're great gloves, but they are the ugliest gloves ever. The logo is just hideous. And again, the logo here on this club, it's tastefully done, but it's still too big, too brash. And if you're playing a Kirkland club, chances are you're not wanting to advertise it. It's not like you want that to be the focus. So for me, I think they're just missing an opportunity and they really need to clean this up. Now, having said that, the colorway, you've got this really pretty metallic finish on the bottom, along with this angular area, which is like a silver matte on top of a gloss black. Very pretty. The top, you can see a lot of the carbon fiber showing through the crown. There is a bit of a gradient. It's a little blacker on the front and around the edge, but really it's a nice looking club. I don't have any issues with the appearance of it at all. The one issue I will point out on the top of the crown, their ball marker is right here. It's about 1/8 of an inch or 2 to 3 millimeters in diameter. It is very small. It is not very bright. And what I've noticed is when I address a ball with this club, you can't even see the ball marker. Now, that may be different outside in broad daylight, but I'm not a big fan of the ball marker. I'd rather just seen it eliminated, or come up with something a little bit more interesting than a 3 millimeter dot. This is an adjustable driver. Stock, 10.5 degree. That's the only option. You can either get a right hand regular 10.5 degree head, or you can get a right hand stiff 10.5 degree head. The adjustment sleeve allows you to go up plus minus 1 degree, so you can go from 9.5 degrees to 11.5 degrees. And then there's a final setting of a 10.5 degree draw setting, which will close the face. The neck sleeve is a bit of a head scratcher for me. I don't know why, if you're Costco, you would go through all the trouble of producing a club like this, but limit the neck sleeve to only 4 different settings. Neck sleeves have been around for a very long time. I can't believe this would be a major cost driver to the final product, and why they would choose to go with a neck sleeve that only offers 4 settings just doesn't make sense to me. So I certainly would take away some points just because of that. The shaft used is a even flow riptide. This is a stiff shaft. They offer a regular shaft as well, and also the even flow riptide. That is the only shaft option. Finally, when we're talking about the looks, we have to talk about the head cover. This is a really pretty head cover. I really like it. I like the colorway, the black, the red, the white, no issues, but this huge Kirkland signature brand, hate it. Hate it. There is nobody on the planet that says, let me advertise to everybody at the golf course that I'm playing Kirkland clubs. I just don't believe that that's the case. You may not care about using Kirkland clubs. I use a Kirkland wedge in my bag. The 60 degree in my bag is a Kirkland wedge. I really like it, and I think it's funny that I'm pulling a Kirkland club out of my bag to play. But when it comes to the driver and something that you're advertising like this is ridiculous. Again, Kirkland has to do something about their logoing. This is just really bad. It's not good. Something more subtle, something unique to their golf brand, maybe call it K-Sig. That's what a lot of folks have abbreviated their product to anyway, K-Sig. You know, you could do something a lot more tasteful. But as far as the head cover goes, it's well made, no issues. It feels a little vinyl-y, a little cheap, but I mean, most head covers do. But really, quite honestly, it looks really nice other than the god-awful logoing. For the purposes of the comparison, I'm going to compare the Kirkland to my gamer driver. This is a Callaway Epic Speed. It has been shortened. It plays around 44.5 inches long. It's just been a real fairway finder for me, and that's why I wanted to compare it. So now I'm going to take my very first shot ever with this particular driver. Right off the bat, because of the fact that my Callaway is shortened down and this is a standard length, I haven't yet measured it. I will measure it before the end of the video, and I'll give you some specs on both the length and the swing weight. Right off the bat, I could tell that there's less weight in the head. I've obviously had to add a lot of weight to that Callaway driver because I shortened it by so much. So it'll be interesting to see how this feels. It is currently set to just the 10.5 degree standard setting, just to give you my first thought on the shot and how it feels. So behind the ball, it looks really good. It does look closed at address, so I'm most likely going to lower the loft to slightly open the face a little. I have a tendency to either block or hook, so the idea of seeing a closed face at address is a bit of a concern for me. In terms of the shape, you know, the shape here along the bottom is reminiscent to me of what you might see on the current TaylorMade or Callaway designs like the Paradigm or the Stealth. How you have a flat plate that comes along that makes it very easy to ground, also helps get that weight low and back. It is stretched out more so than I thought it was looking at the pictures on their website. When I first looked at this driver, I thought it looked like it had a real pear shape, but when I put it right next to the Callaway, it's obvious that the driver itself is quite a bit deeper than the Epic Speed. It is not as big as, say, a Ping G425 or 430, or some of the really forgiving Cobra models were really flattened down and pushed out the back quite a bit. It's not that big of a head, but it's certainly not that classic pear shape. So it's kind of in the middle, what I would say. You've got what looks like a friendly appearance, other than the fact that it looks a little closed at address. We'll see how the first shot goes, and I'll give you my first impressions on sound and feel. First impression, it felt very similar to the Callaway. I thought the sound was similar, and I do want to make a point that I've got some very high-end equipment in here in terms of recording sound. So what you're hearing is probably about as good a recording as you're going to find anywhere on YouTube. So if you like the sound that you hear, that's going to be indicative of what it sounds like in an enclosed environment like this. But you're going to get a very representative sound. That first strike, high center, right in this area. So there you guys go. There's a series of shots hit with the Kirkland driver and compared to the Callaway driver. As far as sound and feel, boy, it sounds a lot like the Callaway and feels like it in this room anyway. So it's a solid feeling club. It doesn't feel penalizing on mishits. So the technology that Kirkland is using seems to be pretty standard with the other drivers on the marketplace. You know, drivers are just so much more forgiving now than they used to be. But performance was pretty solid. So I'll show you now the differences on the screen, the differences between my Callaway Epic Speed and this Kirkland driver right now. So the first thing I'll point out is the club head speed for the two clubs. I was swinging the Callaway slightly faster, half a mile an hour. That's just my own variation. That has nothing to do with the Kirkland or Callaway. In terms of ball speed, the Callaway edged out the Kirkland by 2.3 miles per hour of ball speed. Now, in terms of ball speed and smash factor, because the Callaway is a slightly shorter club, I had to add a significant amount of weight to the head in order to get the swing weight right. And there's gonna be a slight advantage to the Callaway, if you will, just because when you increase the amount of mass in the head, it's easier to get higher smash factors and higher ball speeds. So 2.3 miles an hour, that's not a lot of difference, but there's a small difference there. I would assume it has to do with smash factor, and that smash factor has to do with the weight that I added to the head. So in terms of smash factor, the Callaway edges the Kirkland 1.48 to 1.46. In terms of backspin, the Callaway came in at a low backspin of 2216 RPM, and the Kirkland was slightly higher than that at 2600 on average. I was able to close the club face and hit some pretty nasty hooks with the Kirkland. Again, that's my miss, that's not the driver. And the spin plummeted. So again, a lot of this can do with strike location. Now in terms of strike location, as I'm looking at the face, I'm basically living just around the center. I'd say plus minus the center point of the club face by about maybe half a ball width on either side of center. So I was living in about this area right here. Launch angle, the Callaway averaged 11 degrees of launch and the Kirkland averaged 13 degrees of launch. In terms of carry distance, the Kirkland edged out the Callaway by 6 yards. Now, for my speeds, I am not a high speed player at all, and you can tell that from my videos. But the fact that this is launching slightly higher spin is actually putting me closer to my ideal numbers in terms of if you look at like a TrackMan chart or something like that, and you see the optimum situation for your given club head speed or ball speed. A little more launch and a little bit more spin actually helps my result. Your results may vary, but in this case, the carry was better on the Kirkland by 6. Finally, the offline amount, not overly helpful information really. I biased a little bit to the left of my target line with the Callaway, about 3 yards on average to the left, and then the Kirkland was like 3.5 yards on average to the right. But again, with my block and hook kind of misses, it really just means that I just kind of center in on my target line. But neither had a bad distribution of shots, so I would say they were equally forgiving, performed very similarly in my hands. So I would certainly not fault the Kirkland or the Callaway for my swing. So guys, there you have it. That's the review, that's my thoughts, that's the performance numbers. I think for the very first time that Kirkland has brought a product to the marketplace, this driver, it's a good driver. The numbers were very competitive with the Callaway. The sound and the feel, I think, are quite good, and they remind me a lot of the Callaway, so no issues there. I think they've produced something from a look standpoint at address. I think it's really pretty. From the bottom, I think it's really pretty as well. If it wasn't for this damn Kirkland logo right here, I'd feel a lot better about it. But they've made a really pretty product. The fact that they put a real shaft in it and a decent grip, great. The head cover and that god-awful logo on the head cover is still a sore spot for me. I would change out that head cover. I might put it on my Callaway just as a gag. I don't know, that might be kind of fun. Yeah, I think they've brought out a great product. Now, the question is, this is $200. Last year, I bought a previous year's model driver. It was the Mizuno, and I did a video on it for $200. Do I think this is better than the Mizuno? It's probably about equivalent. You know, it's so hard when you're talking about drivers these days. The differences in performance from one driver to another is so small. It's all in the margins. It's all in the rounding error. So if you see this and you're curious and you want to try it, what I'll tell you is you're not going to waste your money. Well, first off, you can always take something back to Costco, which is one of the wonderful things about their business. But you're not going to waste your money. This is a solid product. It performs well. Does it justify spending $200 versus a couple-year-old Callaway off of, the used Callaway website, or buying something secondhand? I guess that's a decision you guys have to make. If it was me and it was my $200 and I was making a decision on a driver, say I'm on a budget or something, I'm probably going to buy the used Ping or the used Callaway or TaylorMade or something along those lines. I'm going to feel more comfortable having that in my bag, especially if I'm a beginner, someone who's still learning the game. So I can definitely see why somebody wouldn't put this in their bag. If you see it and you're curious, yeah, pick it up. It's solid. I don't have any issues with this club at all. In fact, I'd be willing to put it in my bag and go play a round of golf right this moment. Once again, I think Costco has done a good job of bringing a product to market that is cost effective and seems to be pretty high quality and provides some good results. I'd be more enthusiastic about this product if it was being sold for $180 or $170 than I am at $200. And I know that sounds, you're only talking $20, $30. It's not that big of a deal, right? But because you can buy those used clubs for around $200 all the time, it just makes me feel like they're not going to get much market penetration at a $200 price point, and they need to lower it a little bit more. I mean, right now, it's Christmas season, depending on when you're watching this, and PXG is running a sale on their driver, their Gen 5 driver, and they're blowing it out for $200. That was a $550, $600 driver MSRP when it came out last year. And those types of deals happen every year because the equipment manufacturers redesign, come out with a new product, and they mark down the old ones. So I feel like if they really wanted to try to disrupt the marketplace with this product a little more, they would lower that price and put it more in that $170 to $180 range to make it that much more attractive over the name brands, older models, used models, etc. So I'd be really curious to hear what your thoughts are in the comments. And like always, guys, and this is not lip service, if you look at any of my comment sections, anyone that comments, positive or not, I will respond to your comment. If you get too negative, I'll just block it and remove it from the chat. But honest to God, I do look and interact, and it's one of the things that in these past 4 months, while I've not been making videos, I've really enjoyed keeping up with many of you who've watched some of my videos. So I appreciate you reaching out, and I really would like to hear what you think about this. At $200, would you buy it? Or would you buy a secondhand or older model from one of the name brands? I mentioned at the beginning of the video that at the end of the video I would provide you an update on the future of the channel. The last 4 months have not been easy for my family and I. My dad has advanced dementia, and he had a very serious episode at the end of the summer. It's a little ironic because I released a short video on YouTube of him using my lab putter, and it was only a few weeks after that he had this episode. And it's been trying for the family. It's been really tough. We're doing the best that we can to care for him, and the good news is he's made a lot of progress. He has advanced dementia, and there's only so much that can be done, and the most you can do is just try to be there for him. Because of that, and because of the priorities I have going on in my life right now, my goal is to put out one good video a month. My goal has always been to identify topics that if I was on YouTube, I would want to watch. That's still my goal. I don't want to just flood you with videos of reviewing all kinds of random stuff and coming up with different ideas. I really want to try to provide you a good video that you enjoy watching. And I hope that this Costco video was an example of that. But going forward, you can expect one video a month is really where I'm landing at this point in time. Hopefully you're not disappointed, and hopefully I don't lose any subscribers. But if I do, I completely understand. I'm not doing this to make a lot of money. I'm just doing this because I find it fun and interesting, engaging. I like interacting with all of you. So that's the reason I'm doing it. And I hope that some of the information I share, like I said, that you find it useful. It helps you make better decisions, maybe saves you from spending some money that you didn't need to spend, that kind of thing. But as this journey continues, really what's important to me is just the value of friendships and interaction. So I know I talk about the comment section and how I really appreciate people reaching out to me in the comment section. You guys don't really understand how much value I get out of that. So I certainly do appreciate it when you do reach out and ask questions, and if I'm able to help, it gives me a sense of fulfillment, and I find that to be very gratifying. So hopefully we can continue to grow the channel just at a slower pace, and hopefully I can provide you some information that you find useful and helpful. But that's my situation for now, and I hope each and every one of you that have made it this far in the video, I hope you all have a fantastic holiday season, and I wish you nothing but the best and good health and a prosperous next year, 2024. So that's it from the Golf Nerd. Hit 'em long and straight. I'll see you next time.